Marvel Zombies is a standalone Zombicide style, officially licensed Marvel Cinematic Universe game for 1 to 6 players from Simon Inc., but it's not a direct Zombicide expansion or upgrade version. It stands independently. The base game does a bit of a switcheroo from the regular Zombicide though, in that you play as zombified heroes like the Hulk here, fighting against regular SHIELD agents and superheroes. However, it also contains some opposite components for superhero mode where you're fighting zombies, but those aren't actually usable in the base game unless you buy another standalone base game, X-Men Resistance, which we'll talk about more later because it all gets a bit confusing at that point, and this is probably one of those sets that you'll want to go all in for. Included in the base Marvel Zombies game are 6 superheroes, 6 zombie heroes, 10 bystanders, and hordes of SHIELD agents, troopers and guards and specialists, which are pretty much the equivalent of regular zombies, runners, and the big fatty tanks. On Team Zombie, you'll find Captain America, Iron Man, the Wasp, the Hulk, Captain Marvel, and Deadpool, while on Team Superhero, there's Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Ms. Marvel, Thor, Scarlet Witch, and Spider-Man. But if those aren't to your liking, then don't worry, there is a mountain of expansions, each adding a different set of characters and possibly some new enemies and base tiles. Now, as is standard for Zombicide style games, there are 9 double-sided tiles with which to create the maps and a set of 10 zombie hero missions. So let's talk briefly about gameplay. It's very familiar if you've played Zombicide, but there are a few key differences. The basic format of 3 actions per player turn remains: move, open doors, interact, or attack. Then you get an enemy round in which all the enemy units attack or move with either 1 or 2 actions. No dice rolling needed for enemy turns, they just hit you automatically if you're in range, and then you spawn some more. There'll be various objectives on the map to take, and each mission will have a slightly different goal for a win condition. As your zombie heroes kill SHIELD agents and other superheroes, they'll increase their level and the game will spawn more enemies, making things harder. But you'll also gain some critical skills to help deal more damage or some other kind of bonus. All standard stuff there. So where does the game differ from Zombicide? One interesting mechanic is that you can eat innocent bystanders who will spawn inside buildings in key locations, and you can gain their unique power. Bystanders operate similarly to necromancers in Black Plague and will usually attempt to escape from the nearest spawn point. Some are also combat bystanders and will try to attack you, and in addition you'll sometimes get random bystanders that spawn with their own guards who replenish if you haven't eaten them. Now when superheroes spawn, the good superheroes, the equivalent of abominations, I guess, in modern Zombicide, they also have special abilities and various toughness levels. In order to defeat one, you'll need a number of hit successes equal to or greater than their toughness level. So fighting some super badass superhero might mean needing 5 dice to successfully hit. And if you're thinking, well, that sounds impossible given most attacks are 1 or 2 dice, you'd be right, which is where hunger level comes into play. Hunger level is a new mechanic that will both empower and hinder you. Each turn as a zombie hero, your hunger level automatically increases. You get hungrier. And it can also increase if you roll a critical fail, i.e. a 1 on the dice. If you ever get to level 4 of hunger, you are considered ravenous, and the only actions you can take are to move or devour an enemy, satiating your hunger, bringing it back down to 0. You can devour at any time though, so you needn't wait until you're desperate. But the hunger mechanic also empowers you in that any attacks you do will add a number of dice depending on your current hunger level. So for instance, Captain America's Vibranium Shield attack is 2 dice, needing a 3+. But if you're at hunger level 4, you can increase that by 4 dice. So you would get 6 dice at 3+, thereby greatly increasing your chance of success. And that counts for all your attack types. Hunger level will always add dice, including the Devour attack. However, if you ever end your turn while ravenous, you suffer and lose 1 health. Other game effects may also cause you to optionally increase or decrease your hunger levels through various cards or special abilities too. Another key difference is that there's no item deck. There's no searching, there's no finding random guns and samurai swords. Instead, you have a set of basic one-off zombie traits to draw from, which are kind of uninspired. Sure, weapons can sometimes be overpowered in Zombicide Modern. That was part of the chance and some tension building. Searching and finding zombie after zombie hidden in the item deck was so frustrating but exciting. Drawing zombie traits just because you have an action left, so you might as well, is such a dramatic letdown, really. There's no weapon swapping, of course, because there's no weapons. Each zombie hero basically only has one type of attack move plus the default Devour, and that's predetermined, written on their character card. Some are melee only, some are ranged, and you might get another attack from your special earned skills as you level up, but generally speaking, it's one attack plus Devour. That's your choice. In this version of a superhero movie, the superheroes apparently never pick up guns. And I gotta be honest, the gameplay just feels repetitive and lackluster compared to regular Zombicide. It's enjoyable, don't get me wrong. It's easier, I think, but I feel like a lot of it has been lost in the name of streamlining. You don't need to think about opening doors, for instance. I mean, okay, fair enough, superheroes really shouldn't have a problem with doors, but that removes one important strategic element of who has the crowbar or the fire axe. There's also no set turn order, just random activations for players whenever you want, so there's no tactical decisions there either. If only we could get you in there first, I could Molotov the area and then you could go do that, but we can't because he's going before you and I'm going... These are tense moments of sheer desperation when you're trying to survive against the zombie hordes, and you just don't get that here. Now, don't get me wrong, I like the idea of going in whatever turn you want using activations. It's maybe more realistic, but at the same time, it removes some of the drama, some of the tension. There's just very little of that. There's very little dramatic tension in Marvel Zombies. And I think perhaps that's because I restricted myself to the base game for this part of the review. Typically when I play Zombicide Modern, it's with a box of extras, campaign expansions, multiple abominations, house rules. Prior to playing this, we'd been hitting Zombicide Second pretty strongly every weekend, playing through the new Rio Z campaign, and it was an emotional roller coaster at every point. There was oodles of tension and times when it could have all gone wrong, and yet we pulled it out the hat. Or other times when it did go all wrong and we called a mulligan and just restarted, but not without some critical character deaths, of course. And as a family, we're just not feeling that here. And don't get me wrong, we're big Marvel fans, we've watched all the MCU films, I won't pretend to know all the Marvel characters, but we certainly have our favourites from here that we can play, and that aspect of it will certainly appeal to fans who want a, I'm going to say it, Zombicide Light Edition. But on top of that, I think one of the big differences is that while Zombicide expansions and the base game were all sort of generic characters but relatable, Marvel Zombies is all about actual licensed characters from the MCU. And if your favourite isn't there, you're going to want one of the many expansions at least. And unfortunately, that might mean paying exorbitant prices for special Kickstarter exclusives, which... Again, normally you can ignore those, whatever, nice to have, but you don't need 100 extra TV and movie lookalike characters for Zombicide Modern, not at all. But with Marvel Zombies, if you want the superhero versions of the zombie heroes, like the Hulk, in the core game, that's in the Kickstarter box. Or if you want the zombie version of the superheroes, like Ms. Marvel, that's also in the Kickstarter box. Basically, it's the opposite of the heroes that you get. Although not all heroes have an opposite. So, I mentioned the X-Men version of the game, Marvel Zombies X-Men Resistance. This is also a core box for Marvel Zombies, not an expansion, so everything you need to play a superhero mode game is in here. If you don't want to play as zombies and would rather play as traditional superheroes, get this box instead. But of course the boxes can be combined and are designed to be. So if you want to play against the zombie hero Hulk from the main core box, you'll need this version too, but the cards to do that are in the main box. They come with the character, you just can't use them. If you only have that game, you need this one in order to do that. There's another 9 tiles in here which can be combined. Mechanically, it's identical, but with some of the roles reversed and some language swaps. So instead of hunger, you have power levels which can be spent, but mostly it's the same thing in reverse. However, by buying both core boxes, you quadruple the number of missions available to you. 8. So each core rulebook also contains another set of missions for the opposing core box. There are 10 hero missions in this box, as well as the basic zombie hero missions, and vice versa. So if you just have the one box, you get 10 missions. If you have both boxes, you get 40 missions. 20 for zombies, 20 for regular superheroes. Now in here you also get 6 new player mats and colour rings to put around your character. So if you're keeping count, that means you've got 6 player dashboards in the main pack, which are green, and 6 that are blue. If you're thinking, that opens up some exciting possibilities. Let's say I had a blue team and a green team. What does that mean? Stay tuned. Hidden amongst the other expansions and character packs is the Sinister Six. And this, I think, is where things get radically different and really excite me. PvP mode, or player versus player. Now, this mode requires both the big core Marvel box, as well as the core X-Men Resistance box, as well as this Sinister Six expansion. So yes, things get pretty expensive at this point. But let's talk about PvP mode, because it mixes things up even more. In this mode, you'll be divided into 2 teams, one zombie heroes, one regular superheroes. On the superheroes team will be the Shield Agent minions, while on the standard zombie team, you'll have the assortment of zombies from X-Men Resistance. The overall gameplay is a little bit like League of Legends in that the maps are pretty much symmetrical and with a number of lanes and spawn points within your respective bases. This one you see here, by the way, wasn't actually in the book. It was a larger custom map that I put together. But essentially it's the same. In the center of the map are some objectives, and doors don't play a part in the game, so they're either closed and can't be opened or smashed open already from the start of the game, so forget doors. Each round you'll take it in turns to activate one of your heroes, and when all heroes have activated, then the minions will advance towards the enemy base. Now they don't attack, they just rumble forwards, and any that make it into the enemy base award your team 1 point for each one. You'll also get 3 points for eliminating an enemy hero, and 3 points for each objective that you hold at the end of the round. Whoever has the greatest force there, including minions. And there's a special objective in each team's base, which, if you activate it, allows you to give one type of your minion another activation. And there are bystanders just spotted around the map, whom you can rescue or devour to gain their power. The only additional components brought in the Sinister Six pack, however, are a set of team cards from which you get 2 more each round. They're basically one-off bonus cards, and you might be able to get away with making your own custom cards for this because they're not particularly complex. But other than that, all heroes are set to 3 health maximum to make it fair, and that's pretty much it. There's also some small modifications to the spawn deck, etc., but that's PvP mode. Now, I really enjoy PvP for a few reasons. Firstly, it feels a lot more tactical compared to just the base games. You can still have multiple players per team, of course, so it's not entirely competitive. It's one team against another, and you can have up to 5 heroes on each team. And there's still that element of cooperation amongst your own team, which is core to Zombicide games. But in this mode, you have to think more about getting your minions safely across the board. That's the main way you're going to earn points, as well as capturing objectives. Then, of course, you have to stop their minions from getting across the board, make the best use of your superpowers, level up while defending against their superpowers in a sort of rock, paper, scissors fashion. It's just really satisfying for me, and I think most of all, it feels like a superhero movie, which the core games just don't. Unfortunately, there's only a few maps in the rulebook, the largest of which is 3x2. But look, you have so many tiles at your disposal at this point, so it's easy enough to make your own, as I did here. You could even experiment with different objective types, asynchronous map, some sort of storm the building style objective perhaps. There's a lot of potential here, and I think it makes a really welcome break from the usual pure co-op modes of Zombicide. So, what's the verdict? This is a tough one, and I think that's partly because I basically have every version of Zombicide at this point, and I'm probably getting tired of the core mechanic and looking for something new, which is why the PvP mode of this excites me so much. If you do buy into this in a big way, then I would definitely recommend getting the Sinister Six expansion and both core games to get access to that. It makes a really cool change from the regular missions. If you're new to Zombicide, though, and just really want the Marvel superheroes, then it's a simple decision. Obviously, you won't be disappointed. The minis are superb as expected. There's a ton of expansions where you'll find your favourites, and not gonna lie, running around the missions with your dream hero team is pretty freaking awesome. If you're quick, you'll probably still find the extra copies of the Kickstarter at various retail outlets or on eBay as people change their minds and try to get back what they spent. So before either goes into the realm of silly money, you'll be able to get all this. The difficult decision comes if you're new to Zombicide and could go either way with the superheroes or Marvel theme. Then I'd have to say this is more of a Zombicide light version. You're buying this primarily because of the Marvel tie-in, not because of any deeper Zombicide mechanics. And I would instead recommend 2nd edition Zombicide. That's the main core modern version of the game, which you can see here. And it's the only one I know that has campaign expansions. You won't find campaigns for fantasy version of Zombicide yet, though aside, White Death promises to change that. And basically the campaigns add so much in terms of character continuity and progression and tension throughout each level through the use of campaign cards instead of objective points that you read out and then you make a decision on. And there's no instant loss if you lose a character. You can still finish the missions, either carry them to the exit or just let them bleed out. And then you get a new character for the next mission. Very much recommend that for some much deeper, more tense overall Zombicide play. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Marvel Zombies, it's a fun distraction and a must-have for Marvel fans, and introduces a unique player versus player game mode. But otherwise, it's very much a Zombicide light edition and didn't have nearly as much of a dramatic play experience as the main Zombicide. Now, I hope you found this review useful, though. Hit me up in the comments if you have any questions. Hit like if it was useful, I would really appreciate that, and consider subscribing for more game reviews. Next up, I'll be tackling Infinity Tag Raid, a competitive miniatures game set in the Infinity universe and fully compatible with the N4 rule set. So look forward to that. Until next time. You've been watching Tabletop Dungeon.